Kumlan Abla Gemara, and let's open the schus of our learning. My father, Rabbi Yisrael, David Nachman, and Yechab Chifra should have a refuah shlema. Yeshua Hashem to head of Bayin. Okay, we are learning the sugya of the Chodesh in Osir. I'll just quickly tell you, I mentioned yesterday about the Bach, that the Baal Shem Tov had a special place for the Bach. This is the Bach, first of all, was a Mekubal, a Talmud of Adam Baal Shem, but apart from that, one of the Hashem's, apart from that, he saved Klal Yisrael from Chodesh, because almost most of the poskim paskin Chodesh Osam HaTorah, whether Net Yisrael Chutz La'aretz, which is like Rabbi Lezer here in our mission, the way we learned, and we'll see in the Gemara different opinions. So how is it that the world today is not careful in it? So initially there were some Rishonim who wanted to say that the world is relying on the opinion that it does not apply to Chutz La'aretz, or why they're relying on that opinion? Because b'shas hatchak, they're poor and have no choice. Others say because today, most in the northern hemisphere, most of the things are planted before Pesach, and you don't really harvest them until after Pesach, so therefore there's no problem. They took root before Pesach, automatically they became mutter on the 17th day, of Nisan. But and that's all. That's all. What do you do, for example, in Australia when the seasons are very different? So the Bach came along and he made a big Kiddush, and this is what the world relies on. The Bach himself said, if you want to be machmir, you should be machmir, but he said, you should be machmir only to yourselves. Don't go around preaching. And that is, when is the Isser of Chodesh? Only if it's a Jewish farmer who is doing the harvesting. But if it's in a Goyish farm, and it's being harvested in a Goyish farm, there's no Isser of Chodesh. And that is what we rely on that Bach. And that's why the world is not zoyin it. So it comes to Yisrael Taki, you have to be much more careful. Comes to be much more careful. But and I'm sure all the Hechsherim would say, not keep Chodesh and all that. But in the Chutz La'aretz, that's what we're relying on this Bach. And even though it says, you should be machmir, whatever it is, but always says, you want to be machmir, it's beautiful. Keep it to yourself. If it's after Pesach, if it took root after Pesach. But the thing is, even if you don't know, it's a suffix matada, unless it says clearly here that it is a kemach yoshen. That's what it says, kemach yoshen, which is fine. That means it was, and it was already Pesach went through already. Fine. But otherwise, if you don't know, it's a suffix. A suffix should be us. It should be us when it comes to Chodesh. So that is the cool, and that's why the Baal Shem Tov said that they cooled down the Gehenna, because he saved Klal Yisrael from an Issa de Araisa. He's the only one who came up with that heter, and we all rely on that heter. All of us. Okay. When you say we all rely on the heter, is that when you buy something, you don't query when was this grain made, when was this flour made, and so on. You just buy it off the shelf. And you shouldn't without a hechsher unless you know. Okay, let's continue the Gemara. We're up to
production. So not all the grain you eat is at least a year old.
Could be, could be no, but you still don't know. True, but still you don't know how many months you need to dry. You don't need 12 months.
I know strawberry cookies that I grew up with.
Yeah.
It always said
Okay, we're up to Lamechesam and Aleph towards the bottom of the page. Tanya, we learned about 6 lines on the bottom of the page. So we're going to continue discussing about Chodesh. The other sugi of Chodesh is in Menachos. This is just part of it. Tanya, we learned so we're discussing the Mishnah that raises the issue of Klayim, Orla, and Chodesh. Rabbi Shimon Yochai says, Sholish mitzvahs nestavi Yisrael b'chnisas and there were 3 mitzvahs given to the Yidden when they entered the land of Eretz Yisrael. The Noihagas, bein ba'aretz, bein b'chutz la'aretz, you have to follow them everywhere. V'hu adin sheyin hagu, and it makes sense that you have to follow it, and it follows it goes as follows. So by Chodesh, it says clearly Moshe. Remember, you had an argument. It says Moshe. What does Moshe mean? Does Moshe mean limited to Israel, but only after you settle, after the war, your conquest, and your settlement, which is 14 years? Or does Moshe mean wherever you live? So Shimon Yochai holds that Moshe means wherever you live, and we're going to learn Arla and Klayim from Chodesh. Uma Chodesh has 3 weaknesses. First of all, Ein Isura Isur Olam. It's not also forever. It comes the 2nd day of Pesach. It becomes permitted, and the Ain't Isura Isra Hano Chodesh is only forbidden to be eaten, not Hano, and the Yesh Heter Isura, even the things which grew, let's say, we grew before Pesach. You wait till the 2nd day of Pesach and you bring the korban, everything is permitted. So it has three weaknesses. Bein bara, bein chutz la'aretz, and yet noyeg bein chutz la'aretz. It's so strict that it's even chutz la'aretz. Chodesh is mahat Torah. Klayim, she Yisurin Yisrael has three chumras. First of all, Klayim, once it's also forever. Number two, Yisurin Yisrael, no. Not only can't you eat it, if Klayim means you mix two different grains together, it's forbidden to have a benefit. They ain't heter Yisurin. Once it's also, there's no way of ever turning into heter. Ein adin, surely, sheyin hagu bein ba'ad chulad. Surely should be forbidden even a chutz la'aretz. And b'hu adin la'arla b'shtayim. Arla only has two of those chumras. The two chumras are, first of all, that is asabano, and second of all, that while the first 3 years for grew, it's also forever. But there is a head to for Arla after 3 years. Anything that grows is permitted. We didn't mention them, but that's right. True, but we're not going. That's a corollary. That's not the primary. The primary is that there's a head. So you're right. There's a corollary that becomes asa. Okay, Taisha said by the Arla, we're talking about the tree itself, not talking about the fruit. Anyway, because otherwise, it comes that by Arla becoming mutter and also Rebbe, it's sort of all tied in together. First the years it's also, then afterwards it's mutter, and therefore while it's also, and when it's mutter, it's mutter. So it's like sort of depend on each other. We're talking about the tree itself. Abelazar argues with his father. Abelazar says, Kol mitzvah shenitztavu Yisrael. This is how it goes. Any mitzvah that Eden were instructed, knows any mitzvah which nothing to do with land. It has to do with people. Everywhere. But after they came to land, in other words, it's tied to the land, then Ein and Heg is Elabaret. Then it's only limited to Eretz Yisrael. Only limited to Eretz Yisrael. Chutz, the only exception is two exceptions. Hashmatas ksavim, but Shemitah when it comes to canceling debts, and Shiluach avodim, pardoning avodim. The Gemara will talk about in a minute. Says the Gemara, when it comes to Yovel, avodim go free. Even though they were given instructions after they came into Eretz Yisrael, we'll see later how do we know that. Is everywhere. So says the Gemara. So in other words, Chadash, according to him, is only limited to Eretz Yisrael. Says the Gemara, Hashmotas Ksafim. What are you talking about, Hashmotas Ksafim? L'chayv is a goofy. What's Hashmotas Ksafim? What do you tell me is tied to Eretz Yisrael? It's debts. What does debts have to do with land? No, we're talking about it here. That even though it's tied to the land, it applies everywhere. It wouldn't be tied to the land because what the Rebbe said we had in Perek HaShalech in Gittin. The Tanya we learned. The Rebbe said there are two kinds of shmitas. There's a shmita you have to leave the land fallow, and a shmita of money. Bisman sha'atem mishamed karka, when you mishamed land, atem mishamed ksafim. As long as the shemitah on the land and also the laws of shemitah apply to the money. Bisman she'i atem mishamed karka, but when there's no shemitah karka, for example, while they were in the midbar, atem mishamed ksafim, there's no ksafim. So when did the ksafim start? Only when we came to Israel. So we would have thought that therefore it's only limited to Eretz Yisrael. Kamashlan, it also applies to Chutz La'aretz. That's what he means. Says he, how do you know? Maybe let's go a step further. If we're comparing the two, money to land, say that where is the Isra of Shemitah's Ksafim? Only where there's the Isra of Shemitah's Karka in Eretz Yisrael. Maybe Taka there is no Shemitah Chutz La'aretz. Maybe that's how you should use the pasuk. No Chutz La'aretz, there's no Shemitah at all. It says Kikara. It says the pasuk because it's known as Shemitah. What's the pasuk trying to add? To tell you that Shemitah is everywhere. But where? Well, it's not tied to the land. Not the Shemitah's Karka, but the Shemitah's Ksafim. What the Rebbe was saying was that today Shemitah's Ksafim only the Rabbanon. That's what Kruzbul comes in. Because only Kozman Shemitah's Mahatoid on the land is Shemitah's Ksafim. Is Shemitah's Ksafim Mahatoid. When Shemitah's Karka on the land is not Mahatoid anymore. Because there's no Noivel, there's no Shemitah. So then there's no Kesher. Because in order for Yovel, we're learning more Erich in the very end, in the Lametz, that has to be Rei Yisrael. In fact, they're starting to talk about when the population in Israel, there are more Jews in Israel than anywhere else in the world, what happens to all of these dinim? Maybe they become the Raisa, and then a lot of the Hetadim we use today is not going to be so simple when it comes to Shemitah and other things. Says the Gemara. So Rab Shimon Yochai holds that Chodesh also Matayna Chutz La'aretz. Rab Elazar but Rab Shimon holds Chodesh is only limited to Eretz Yisrael. Says the Gemara, Shiluach Havodim. What are you throwing Shiluach Havodim? Chayav is a goofy. What does that do with land? You tell me this is an exception, even though it's to do with the land. It applies to Chutz La'aretz. What does Havodim have to do with the land? I mean, I would have thought there is a association with land. Oh, you look, see, it says in the pasuk, the karosim the roid, but others the chol yeshveh comes Yavel, you declare freedom to all those, and the avodim go back to their families. Is where I would have thought karosim the roid, but others. It said you should liberate them in the others in Eretz Yisrael. So, but others in Chuzlar, I would have thought the law that avodim come Yavel, they are set free. You're talking about Eved Ivri who stayed on afterwards, or it goes free, or Eved Bechal goes free in Yovel is only limited to Israel because the puzzle is clearly Aretz. Tamalema Yovel in Mekom Makom. It's Yovel wherever you are, and that's when he says Chutz. That Eved Kanani you would have thought is limited to Israel. Says Chutz Aretz. If it's taken don't do that to Israel, why does it say in the pasuk Ukarosum Droi Ba'aretz? Because Droi B'chol Oilam, not just Ba'aretz. This man Shadroi Noig Ba'aretz. Calls man you have Yovel in Eretz Yisrael. Like the time the first base of English. Rashi says in there, not the second base of English, and face the whole discussion. Ain't there no about it when there's no during at Yisrael, ain't no you don't have it the chutzlaritz. So now also we look in another mission. We look in the mission. So far we see some big machlekes chodesh. Is it also ma'atayda everywhere? Is it chutzlaritz mutter like Rabbi Elazar Rab Shimon says? Now in this mission here it says the following: HaChodesh also ma'atayda b'chol. Clear. That Chodesh is also Matayna. That's the halach. That's why we need the Bach to come along and give us some kind of a heter. Chodesh is forbidden everywhere. Orla, now we're going to have there are three levels. There's Chodesh, there's Orla, and there's Klayim. We're going to learn also, before we have a little introduction, that there's three kinds of Klayim. There's Klaye Zeroyim, which means you take seeds and you put them together. There's Klayim, which is like Elon, you have trees, you're grafting a tree exactly. And then you have Klayim with grapes. And by grapes, according to Rabbi Yeshua, which seems the halacha like Rabbi Yeshua, in order to be chayiv klai kedem, called klai kedem, you have to plant two seeds together with the vines, all at the same time. In other words, if there's an existing vine and you plant something next to it, that's not klai kedem. It has to be mapaylis yad. You do it all together in one go. And Taisa already explains, another shayim, klai Israel you'll be able to put the two seeds together. You're getting a second aveda called klai kedem. Rabbi Yeshua doesn't hold that. He holds one grain with the grapes. He has two grains and the grape. So there's three levels, and we're going to learn now three levels of Klayim Mechutz La'aretz. Which one will be Asa Matayda, which is Rabban, which is Mutal Chatchil. Of these three Klayim. Arla is Arla. We'll see that it applies to Chutz La'aretz as well. Is it Mahatayda or Midrabban? And then you have Chodesh, which we had a Machlekes Tanaim. So it goes like this. This Mishnah knows Chodesh is. Sorry. Yeah, but that's also whatever. We're talking about land, to anything with land. So the Gemara, Arla is everywhere. Arla is a halacha. Now, what halacha means, we'll see in a minute. And the Klayim is Medivri Sefer, and Klayim is Midrabban. Now we're going to learn there's three categories also. We have Rabbi Zara and other places. You have Eretz Yisrael, you have Surah, and you have Chutz La'aretz. Surah was conquered by David Melech. It's called Kibush Yachid. And Kibush Yachid, Loish Make Kibush. In other words, it does not have a status of Eretz Yisrael, but when a machlek is what Kibush Yachid means. Was never instructed to do it just to make it greater Israel, or he didn't have such other people with him, or whatever. Kibush Yachid. The bottom line is that is so close, like annexed to Eretz Yisrael, that the Chachamim were very strict with it to treat it like Eretz Yisrael. Because people, it became like one country. Yeah, so therefore, because it's like one land, the Rabbanans put a lot of chumas into place, and then you have the wider Chutz La'aretz, which is more distant by Israel, were far less strict. Okay, so now let's go through this. Arla is halacha, and Klayim is Medivri Sefer. First of all, my halacha. What's this halacha? What does halacha mean? We have big machlekes. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, hilchasa. Interesting expression. Medina. It's a minig. We use the word halacha for a minig. Okay. And Rashi goes further. They took it upon themselves. Where else do we find the word halacha to be minig? I'm not sure exactly, but maybe that's where it comes the idea that minig is Oikar halacha. And as Magen Avraham brings in Tafrei Tzadi Beza in the end of Tzadi Beza, the Yichus Purim, how important minhagim are, and minig is the Oisis Gehenim. it overturns and so on and so forth. Because here we call it halacha. Ula Amar Rabbi Yechanan. Sorry. No, in Egisrol is also Matay. I don't try to remember now where else we have halacha and mizminik. I'm not sure. I offhand I can't remember anyway. So it's Mishnah uses the word halacha. It comes along Shmuel says it's a minik. Don't know. However, Ula argues. He says halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Ma'atayda. Rabbi Yehuda like this. According to me, I mean, I say halacha l'Moshe Sinai. I say halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Now you have three categories. So you have chodesh ma'atayda, Claudine the Taylor. You have Lechri Carmel and all that. Then you have Orla, the first 3 years of growth. That is halacha l'Moshe Sinai. And then you have Klaim, which is the Rabban and the Chuslars. I can see the three categories. But this helps us understand the strong is a difference between Suffolk Orla and Suffolk Klein. Why Suffolk Orla was so strict? If we're not sure it's Orla, we're very strict, and we're not sure it's Klein, we're very lenient. I understand now, because Klein is only the Rabbanon, so Suffolk you're lenient. Orla is halacha l'Moshe Sinai. So if you're not sure, you have to treat it in a stricter way. To me, it makes sense. How do I know there's a difference? It's not. It's a clear mission. I understand. The Shalom is Suffolk Orla, Suffolk Klein. It's not. We look at the Mishnah. Suffolk Orla. If you have a Suffolk, you're not sure if this is growth from the first 3 years or not. You're right. These are those young saplings. He's be'eretz us, and it's so it's forbidden because a Suffolk in the Torah you always take the strictest side. Besuria mutter. Besuria b'di'evet. You bought it. Okay. You have to follow the laws of Orla and Surya, but if you're not sure, we're going to be lenient. Okay. And obviously the question is, if halacha Moshe Sinai, a suffix should be forbidden. If halacha Moshe Sinai is really ma'at Torah. What do you mean suffix is cooler? So Gemara later on will explain. The Vasi is going to tell us later that itself was part of the halacha. The halacha is that only when you know for sure that it's early it's forbidden. If you're not sure, it's permitted. Fine. But if you're, let's say, far away from Eretz Yisrael, then we'll go a step further. Not once you board it, what is the status? No, you knowingly that. What do you mean? You can go and you can buy from a goy, and you have no idea what the goy is doing, and he has all kinds of saplings and olive trees, right? He has in his farm everything he has in his orchard, and you know that he's going there. You don't know what he's taking, and you know. No, in what do you call it? In Surya, if you have it, okay. But the Chatchila to go and buy from a guy with he has saplings that don't do it. But the Chutzlaris will go a step further. We're going to be lenient. Yet by climb it says Tanan. We go a step more lenient by climb. What do we say by climb? We say over there Kedem Hanatu Yedek. You have a vineyard and there's vegetables growing right next to it. Just mamish climb. Right, your vegetable growing between the vines, and Yedek Nimke Chutzalai, and you're not walking in there to take. You go to the guy in front door and you're buying from the guy, and definitely he has klein growing. This vegetable is growing between the grapes, and yet is ba'aretz, of course, usher because the suffix ma'atele. Yes, it's usher. It's forbidden. Besuria we mutter, and Chutzalai Yeded will like it. You can have the goy the chatchila go, not you yourself, the goy the chatchila to go and collect from the climb, as long as you yourself the yid doesn't go collect to the hand. Why is Erla so much easier than by no? It's even by Erla when we say we are lenient. So we say that you can go and buy it, but you don't know the guy where the guy's getting from by Erla. Here you know that it's climb, and you can tell the guy. Pick me some cherry or whatever it is, some berries or whatever it is, or vegetables next to the thing, as long as you don't do it yourself. Why are we more lenient with Erla than Klein? So it makes sense. It makes sense by us. Why is that? But you know why we're more lenient with Klein? Because Klein Chutzlar is Rabbanon. Erla Chutzlar is Allah Moshe Sinai. So obviously it's a step above. And that's all Macht. And Chodesh is Mahat. Ella according to you, you hold that what? That it's only a minig medina. You Shmuel said that what it mean? How hilchasa? That Orla is only a minig. So why is Klein more lenient than Orla?
Nisne, let it the same thing should apply to both. That even by Orla you can go ahead and ask the guy to go pick it for you, or pick from the saplings. You like it. Either both of them should be stricter, that you can buy and not ask him to pick. Just buy and you don't know where he got it from. Or let's go more lenient by both of them and say, go there and pick. Says Gemara, you're right. There's a mistake in the Mishnah. The very same Shmuel said to Ravan, Tani, change the version of the Mishnah. The din should be the same. Whatever the din is here, the din is there. The question is, what's the gist in the Mishnah? You're right. So Shmuel maintains that when it comes to Orla Chutz La'aretz, it's merely a minig, and minig midrabanan, and according to Rabbi Yochanan, it's a halacha b'shinai Chutz La'aretz. Mar Brei Ravina Masal Lekula. Mar Brei Ravina goes a step further. He says that Sai Orla Sai Klein, we're going to be lenient. Zever you like it. Go ahead and get the guy to go and pick for you. But actually, you could be yad. You yourself don't go and pick it. Baruch goes further. Amalei Levi to Shmuel. Levi said to Shmuel, Aryavach, he called him Aryavach, which is a description like a king, because Shmuel was when it comes to memory, said when it comes to Yisurim, the halacha like Rab. When it comes to Mammon, the halacha is like Shmuel, which is like he's a dayan, he was powerful, authority. Sapically, so Levi said to Shmuel, make me a suffix v'ano eichel. He said to Shmuel, I want you to go and collect for me by Orla. I want you to go collect, but I don't know where you got it from. Keep it a secret. So for me, it'll be a suffix. And the suffix in Chutz La'aretz is mutter. Because Shmuel holds that Orla in Chutz La'aretz is a minig. Suffix, Rabbanan. Suffix is mutter. So this is interesting. You can create a suffix. This is a much bigger chiddush. It's one thing, it's already a suffix. He said, make it into a gather of a suffix so I can eat it. Sapically, turn it into a suffix. You pick, I don't know where you're picking from Orla, not Orla. I'll eat it. Each one, pick for the other guy, and we don't know what you did. And I'm not going to ask any questions, which is interesting, because usually we say that even if it's a suffix, but Heichli, Yochel, Levarim, Mevarinen. Actually, the Mordechai in the beginning of Psachim talks about B'dikas Chametz. That, if the guy, even though you Mevatel Chametz, which is interesting, over there, even though you Mevatel Chametz, so B'dikas only the Rabbanon, if you rented a house, if you can ask, you should ask. Here we see clearly by a suffix. This might be like within the Rabbanon itself, because he said here, Hinigu is Atzmon. It sounds like it's even a step lower than a normal Rabbanon. Yes, as an Isa the Rabbanon, this is a lower level of the Rabbanon. That's what it sounds like. He said the two sharp Tamid al Chamer, right? Rashi says the Eifa and Avimai, who they're from Pumbedisa. We'll have the first page and head to the end. All these people who they are. Ein Arle b'Chutz La'aretz. They go a step further. There's no Arle b'Chutz La'aretz. Forget Mahat Malach Sinai. Forget Mindig the Rabban like Shmuel. Doesn't exist. So who Rabbi Yehuda Lekamed Rabbi Yochanan, very interesting. Rabbi Yehuda, who was a Talmud of Rav and a Talmud of Shmuel, didn't ask his Rebbes. He sent the letter to Rabbi Yochanan. Because he knew already what Shmuel paskin that there's only the Rabbanon. So he knew already his opinion. He wanted what Rabbi Yochanan had to say, maybe. He said to Rabbi Yochanan, what should, this is what they said. What do you think? He said back to them, Shalach Lei. This is what Rabbi Yochanan said back to him. Remember, Rabbi Yochanan is being said before. Rabbi Yochanan was a Lach Moshe Sinai by Orla. He's much more machmir. He said the following, very strong. Stoim Sveika, shut down this whole Sveika business that you guys are doing, creating Sveikas. It goes like this. The Ovid Vada. He said like this. He says this Avadai, this is what these guys said. The Avadai Orla is mutter. Get rid of that. The Hachiz al Peresein Shatuni Gnisa. And tell I don't want you to use this hatadim, even though you said you can create something like that. I don't want you to do this hatadim. And whatever it is, if it's Orla, now hide them. Then it goes further. If anybody keeps propagating this line, that there's no Orla Chutz La'aretz, he should not have a grandchild or a great grandchild. Should be part of this of our holy nation. What a strong words. You shouldn't be zeichet. Sorry? You get that feeling, don't you? Says how in the world can walk around saying there's no orla at all. Till now we learned there's orla. The question is what level? Here you're walking around saying ain't orla b'chutz la'aretz. There's no orla at all. Says the Gemara, ki had a Tanya, because they had a Tana that they relied on. The Braisa, Rabbi Loza, but Rabbi Yasi, or Rabbi Loza, but Rabbi Yasi said, Rabbi Yasi ben Duskima. Sha'amar says the name of Rabbi Yasi Glili. Sha'amar Mishum Yechir ben Noiri. Sha'amar Mishum Rabbi Lezer Godel. So quite a few Tanaim here. Ain Arla b'chutz laaretz. There's no Arla b'chutz laaretz, and that's who they were paskening like. What's time to like? Says the Gemara, "V'holoi, you're telling me Rabbi Lezer holds no Arla b'chutz laaretz. Vanan tanan. Didn't we learn just before Rabbi Lezer oimer af hachodesh? Rabbi Lezer says, Rabbi Lezer in our Mishnah said that chodesh is also in chutz laaretz. Ah, what did the Tanakhama talk about Arla and Klein? That's the chutzlars. Came along Rabbi and says af, which means that he holds that not only chodesh is also that, or not only Orlin and Klein also holds the chodesh. So how can you tell me Rabbi holds there's no Orlin and chutzlars? Tni chodesh. Take away the word af. Omit the word af. Only chodesh is also chutzlars because Orlin is mutter chutzlars completely. Or Orlin mutter chutzlars at least mahatoida. Maybe the Rabban did it. Amar Rabasi Rabbi Rabasi name Rabbi Yechon, Orle b'chutz laaretz halacha l'Moshe Messina. All the chutz laaretz which we had before. Ula said it, now Rabasi saying it. Amar Rabasi, what time we learned Safik Orle b'aretz asa b'surya mutter. Now, if you tell me it's halacha Moshe Messina, it's a Safik matoida in chutz laaretz. How can surya be mutter? And furthermore, chutz laaretz is even better. He was confused, stunned for a moment, and then he thought about it. He said, Amalei. This is what his answer was. This is how the Allah Sinai played out. Sveika mutter vado aser. When is our law? He knows 100%. But if you're not 100% sure, it is mutter. That's why in Surah it's mutter and so on. Amar Rabasi loikin ala klayim the Bartoida. Rabasi says in the name of Rabbi Yechon that you get malchus in chutz laaretz mahatoida. No, but it's Allah Moshe. You get off. I'm not about Yesi, but not a climb. But even so, if we look clearly, sorry, now we're talking about climb. Before we're talking about Orla, now we're talking about climb. Because climb also is also b'chutz laaretz mehatoida. You get malchus. What it has, but we learned climb is on this very mission we just learned before. We said that Orla, whatever Allah, and it says clearly that climb is only the Rabban. So what do you tell me over here? It's a climb a divre seifrim. What do you mean you get malchus mehatoida? Like kasha, there's different levels of climb. Can be klaya kedem. Here we're talking about klaya makedem and can be hakavas ilan. When you take two trees, which are two separate species, that's the difference. The climb of ilan to ilan and this klaya kedem. Kiddush Shmuel, like Shmuel said, and the Amar Shmuel said, and klaya ilan is much stricter than that. Amar Shmuel said, it's in the pasuk. My chuk is tishmoidu. The chuk that I already gave you. Normally say tishma chukaisai. By saying es chukaisai tishmeiru, some of the chuk I already gave you back in the midbar. Continue following them. And in that pasuk it says behem dechalei sabi. It talks about climb of behemoths and sod chalei scissor. We compare sod chalei scissor to climb of behemoths. Just like climb of behemoths doesn't make a difference where you are because it's a chayvus aguf. So too climb of a sadder makes no difference where you are, even in chutz laaretz. When climb of trees. So and they talk about shatnez. He said the pasuk is chukaisai tishmeiru. It doesn't say you should keep my chukim, but it says chukaisai that already existed. Chukim shechakak already pre-existed chukim, take care of them. And then the pasuk says, "Behem techalei sabia climb, your animals you shouldn't breed together, and sat chalei siza, and don't plant your field." In ma behem techa bahaba, just like behem techa, we're talking about mating them together. Av sat cover, so we're talking about grafting them together. Ma behem techa noy bein ba'ad b'chutz laaretz, it's chayvus haguf. It doesn't matter where you are. Av sat totally your field is noy bein ba'ad b'chutz laaretz. So that's why this kind of climb, this is a climb hakovas ilan be'ilan is the. I told you 3 kinds of climb. That is mahatoyah chutz laaretz. Depending on what Allah Haksiv, it says in the pasuk, "Sadcha your field like sizra." So what's the kasha? So Rashi is a beautiful thing here. Rashi says, "Sadcha," the field that was designated. I'll quote you the Rashi. It's beautiful Rashi. The Haksiv Sadcha, right parallel to Gemara. It says, "Sadcha your field." Hameyuchad lach that was designated for you. The chutz laaretz lahikdalach min hashamayim. We were never given chutz laaretz from the Eibishter. We're buying it ourselves. Sadacha is the field that I already designated for you from before. Every land, every property you buy in Israel is a gift from Hashem, min Hashemayim. Every property that you buy, it buys it forever. It's a sadcha forever, even in the
No, but I'm
future.
saying if I buy a piece of Eretz Yisrael, which is not my chelik, my shape.
It makes no difference. It sounds from here, from Rashi's Mashra makes it sounds from here clearly that the land that just is a gift from heaven. The land that we have here is that we buy it ourselves. So when the pasuk says Sadacha, l'chayr is limited to Yisrael. That's the first question. What do you tell me? How come it's Elon's Mahatayda Chutzlaret? It seems to me Sadacha l'sizra, Sadacha the field that Hashem gave you, which is referring to Yisrael. Interesting. Says Gemara, and that's what we learn. Everyone has styled Amos, in that Yisrael. We all maybe she gave us a gift. Maybe she doesn't discriminate, give everybody. There we're coming to exclude if you're planting seeds together, like Klaya Kedem in Chutzlaretz. That is that's called Zvir. And here it says Sadcha. So Sadcha means not your field versus Chutzlaretz, but your field means your trees rather than your seeds. Your trees are also not Chutzlaretz. Not that you can buy seeds in Chutzlaretz. That's Midrabanan. Rav Chana have a shockly, but Ozdi was once going and walking down the road. Chazuya, they saw a person that goes Zora, Zroim, about the guy was planting seeds together. Let's go put him a chedim. He's over at least on the east of the Rabbanan. He's planting seeds together. Obviously, you're not a bucky in Hilchos Klein. You're not clear in Hilchos Klein. So it's only the Rabbanan. We don't put people in chedim. He saw them doing klaya kedem, right? And he did two: wheat, barley together with grapes. Let's go ahead. The thing was the vineyard was already existing, and he just brought these two seeds. Let's put him in the kedem because it's a klaya kedem. He's definitely not clear in the laws of klayim. What do you mean? Like Kaim, like we Pascal Yeshia. The Omar Ad Sheyizra Chitus Oile V'Chatze Bimma Polis Yad. With one act. Here, the grapes already, the vineyard was already existing. He brought two seeds to it. That's not Klaya Kedem. It's not Klaya Kedem. So clearly, this so Klaya Elon is also Mahatoida in Chutzlaretz, and Klaya which one? Klaya Kedem and all that is Mahatoida's mutters on this one. Rabbi Yosef, Ma'arev Bizroni Bizarre. Rabbi Yosef Chatchila used to go ahead and plant seeds in Chutzlaretz. So he went a step further. Maybe Klai Ken also Rabbanan, but seeds, it's mutter Mehataida Midrabban in Chutzlaretz. I'm the Bible, not that I'm going to climb the Yosef, didn't climb the Rabbanan. I'm going to Kasha. Rabbi Yosef said to him, Rabbi has a strong question. Can be Klai Ken, can be Klai Zer. That's three categories of climb. The Klai Elon, that's Mehataida Chutzlaretz. Klai Kedem, Mapelis Yad is Rabban Chutzlaretz. Klai Israel mixing seeds together is Mutter Chutzlaretz. So yeah, that's what Rabbi Yosef told him. And what do you call it? Klai. When I asked the question, is Rabbi asked, yeah, Klai Kedem. The be'eretz. So he explained it. Klai Kedem. The be'eretz. So Rabbi Yosef explains. Klai Kedem, which in Eretz Yisrael not only cannot eat, you cannot even benefit, is a bechutlar. Now it goes to Rabbanan. Bechutlar is something Rabbanan. I don't want you to plant seeds and grapes together. Or the klai Yisrael, the be'eretz like asabana, but klai Yisrael, the in Yisrael is not asabana. Because don't say the pen tigish. So even if you mix seeds together, it's also to eat, but there's no iser hanade. Is bechutlar nami the goes to Rabbanan. So step lower, we'll make them completely. So that's what Rabbi Yosef first said. Then Hadar Amar Rabbi Yosef. Then Rabbi Yosef said, "Lav milsi the amri." Maybe I'm wrong. Why? Because the Rav. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Taka should have planted the seeds together. Maybe it's also Chutzlaretz. Why? Because the Rav, Zora Ginsa the Rav planted the garden next to his yeshiva. He had to feed all the talmidim. Mishari. He made rows. My timer. What's the reason? Lav mishum eruv b'klim. He didn't want to put them together because you're not allowed to mix seeds together. Amalei Abaye said, now here proves what Abaye is. But Abaye said wanted to do it. How can you plant seeds together? Then after Abaye explained why he plants seeds together, he brought a raya to Abaye said, "Araya, maybe you shouldn't have done it. Maybe sorry, maybe the original shot was right that you're allowed to do it, and the Rav, the reason why he said he made them 7 rows, not for what you think." So Abaye was just was really a question. If you would tell me that if Rab was very, very careful in how he planted all within one patch, but he made sure they were distant from each other, we learned all the din of Klein, 6 and all that. Makes sense. He wanted to make sure there's no Klein. Here he did it purely because it's much nicer. Each patch should be different. Or the Shemayu, it's a tircha on the gabai to walk around and keep everything separate. So therefore, weeding and all that, pruning. So therefore, he separated it. But really, there's no clemency, which is halacha by the way. So that's the Unjushura. Okay, so this finishes the sugya of Chodesh, and I explained to you why Chodesh today Paskin that's all right. And for the machmer, the word takif, the brisk is very machmer Chodesh, the malachim are very machmer Chodesh, lots of people are very machmer, but generally speaking, we're not machmer.
Maybe here this shot in the Rashi where the Indian of halacha, he calls it a minute.
More than a minute. Nigu atzmeinu. We took it ourselves.
Maybe it's halacha Rashi's biluach. Again,
In Ramah Shulchan he has different expressions as to whether it's hachi nog or kvar nogu or zehaminig. You know, it's different kinds of hagim. One that was given to us. One, but one of the people that started doing it, like Noishis Chmir al Atzman. You know, they took it upon themselves all about niddah. That kind of thing.
Should be treated like.
All that. Okay. We'll continue it tomorrow.